If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkill's tutorial guides from Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining us on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future releases that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. Hello you guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a real quick video about a new release that Pimax is doing, and I think partially in response to what the Vero team did with the Aero and cutting the price down. As I was saying in a previous news video, that Pimax was going to have to come up with something in order to keep up and stay in the market given the massive price reduction that the Vero Aero did. Now, I want to make something very, very clear, guys. I am a huge Pimax supporter. I purchased the original Pimax. I purchased the Pimax 5K Plus. I purchased the Pimax 8KX, and then I was provided with a copy of the Pimax Crystal. So I want to make this very clear that it's going to sound like I'm sort of fanboying, and essentially I am, because I have been using Pimax for so long. So just keep that in mind, that I have a history with Pimax out of my own pocket, okay? So, because some of these are going to sound a little biased, as it really is. So let's go ahead and start talking about what is actually coming. So what they're doing is they're adding a Pimax simulation version, okay? Crystal Sim is what they're called. So let's go ahead and go to the page here so we can start breaking down some of the differences here. So the really cool thing about the Crystal Sim here is it has many of the same features that you'll find with the Pimax Crystal. Still have the same kind of things where, you still have that very clear resolution. You're still going to have those very, very deep colors, but you're going to get a few less things, such as, for example, it doesn't come with controllers. Now you can see they have a starting price of $14.49, guys. And then they even have some payment plan here options here. If you guys have never looked into that, some of them, that's actually how I got my 5K Plus, was using one of these payment plans, and it was actually very convenient. Got to keep in mind, I didn't have a whole lot of money back then, so I wanted you guys to be aware that I have actually used one of these before, and it was very handy. Okay, now let's start talking about some of the big differences, and we're going to get into a deep dive here very, very soon about the differences between the Aero and the Crystal. Vero has been kind enough. They are actually shipping me a copy of the Aero, you guys, so you guys are going to get some comparisons from me as well as a longtime standing Pimax user. However, I'm going to talk about some things that right out of the gate that the Crystal offers that are very, very much so on a higher scale. First off, the Aero has no audio source, right? So keep in mind that we're going to start the Aero at $1,000. That's what it is right now, $1,000 US. So we're starting the Aero out at $1,000, what we're comparing here, and because that was the most recent change. Pimax now launching the Sim version of the Crystal, $14.49. As I said, Aero has absolutely no audio whatsoever. It also has no microphone whatsoever. Okay, so you cannot use them. It does not have an onboard mic. It does not have any kind of onboard audio. Now, I believe it might have an audio jack for like earbuds or something like that, but I don't know. I don't have it in my hands, and I have to go back and look. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the Crystal does not require base stations. Okay, so obviously a major plus there, you guys. You don't have to worry about dealing with base stations for the inside-out tracking. Now, I know that inside-out tracking is something that other developers are looking into, but right now, at the price point and in its category, Pimax Crystal is the only one that has that. So that's going to bring the price up a little bit more. The color and clarity. I do not believe that any other headset currently on the market has the color and clarity that the Pimax Crystal does. And again, I've used it and I've been using it for a while, but my VR experience goes all the way back to the Rift. I have had the pleasure of trying out a G2 before, and just nobody matches the clarity that comes with the Crystal. So that's going to bring the price up a little bit more. The reason why I'm pointing out these price point differences and the climb in price is because the feature option that the Pimax Crystal has is far superior as far as the feature list in comparison to the Aero. Now, we're going to be using the Aero. We're going to test it. That opinion is obviously going to be balanced out a little bit here over the next coming weeks. Why am I really stoked that they've done the Crystal Sim? Well, because they've removed the hand controllers, which dropped the price. I am a personal believer in Crystal Sim. I think this should have been the initial launch. I do not think that it is a headset that should be used for standalone. Even though that is a feature that is very rapidly growing with the Crystal that even I have, the Crystal Sim makes more sense. You're going to get far more hardware performance out of a PC than you are on any standalone device. Having, you know, your GTX 4080s and your 4090s, or RTX, excuse me, 4080s and 4090s, and even some below, you're going to get a much different price point there, or power to point, I guess, if you will. So I really like that they've done this, and I really like that they've designated or targeted the market for simulators. Okay, if you are in a racing simulation, if you are in flight simulation, chances are now there are exceptions to every rule, right? But chances are is that you are only using it for the visual aspect, and that you have your own controls. You have your own sticks, you have your own throttles, you have your own rudder pedals, you have your own steering wheels and shifters, right? So you're using the VR experience to immerse yourself inside the cockpit, whether it be racing or flight simulation. So the fact that they are doing this makes far more sense to me, and I think it's a really bold move, and it brings the price way down to something that is much, much more comparable for the feature list. And that's the thing that I will tell you guys to make sure that you do before you decide to buy any HMD for VR, is make sure that you guys actually break down the feature list. What are you getting in the comparison? Don't just look at resolution. Make sure that you guys look at a bunch of other things, because there is a ton more that comes with Pimax crystals than, for example, are coming with the Aero. Now, time may change. The other really cool thing about the Pimax crystal is the faceplates are going to be interchangeable, meaning that you can have inside-out tracking, or you can use a base station. And by simply swapping the faceplate, you're going to have that option, so keep that in mind. Now let's start talking about a few points that you're probably going to want to know in regards to the Crystal Sim. When will the device be shipping? Well, the crystal will be released in a week, as well with the colorful faceplate will be released separately later on. The first batch will be delivered in about 5 days, but no later than 3 weeks. What does limited edition mean, as these are limited edition, as you guys can see here? Okay, limited edition has some different features in design compared with the original crystal, and it is available on a first come, first serve only basis, and will be taken off the SKU when sold out. So you guys are going to want to jump on this if you like this price point, if you like the feature list of the Crystal Sim. If it makes more sense to you, you're going to want to jump on this sooner than later, as once they are sold out, it's it. They're done. They're gone. Okay. And what is technically the difference in the two devices between the Crystal first version, Crystal 1, do we want to call it, and Crystal Sim? Crystal Sim, which will add the 72 Hertz option, does not include the controllers, and adds an extra flight-themed and racing-themed faceplate. Especially the 12K trade-in policy also applies to this model. So as you guys know, the 12K is something that is still in development. As it comes down the line, you will be able to trade it in for the 12K program. Here's the other catch. Will you be able to purchase it on things like Bestware or Amazon? And the answer is no. It will only be available on the Pimax official website. And again, that is for the Crystal Sim. And does the 72 Hertz mode come to the normal Crystal with an update? And the answer to that is yes. The normal Crystal will still be getting the 72 Hertz with an update. The normal Crystal costs you guys about $15.99. The Crystal Sim costs $14.49. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. But you can also get the Crystal Sim with a Lighthouse bundle, and that price is $15.49. So it's not a huge increase, or decrease, I should say, in the price. As I sort of stating earlier, I kind of overstated that, I'll admit. So I do want to backpedal on that one a little bit. Ching, 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 ching. Tick, 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 delete. I didn't say that. But it's still a nice that they are at least staying in the market and still recognizing that simmers don't really need the controllers. The standalone mode is still available, not functional without the inside-out controls. Is that correct? And the answer to that is yes. So standalone mode is available on the Crystal Sim, but you will have to have the inside-out tracking and the controllers in order to use it. So at that point, if that's something that actually interests you guys, then you want to go with the standard Crystal. Don't get the Crystal Sim. If you are interested in that standalone version, sort of like the Quest 2, don't get the Crystal Sim. That would be a waste of your money. I'm going to tell you that right now. And is it possible to get the new Crystal Sim with the same faceplate design as the original Crystal? Example, if a customer does not like the new designs. The Crystal Sim includes a normal faceplate and an extra flight racing themed faceplate as well. So there's just a few questions that Pimax have already addressed in the relationship to the launch of this particular VR headset. I hope that this has helped you guys get a little bit more information, understanding about why Crystal is doing what they're doing, or why Pimax is doing what they're doing with the Crystal. It makes far more sense to me. And let me know what you guys think. Again, I am a huge advocate of Pimax. I have been for a very long time. This is not new. This is not something that I'm doing simply because they handed me the Crystal to test out. Again, 8KX, 5K Plus, and the original were all in my house at one point or another. I actually still have the 5K Plus and the 8KX in the house. So keep that in mind, you guys. As always, any questions that you guys would like fielded through Pimax, please reach out to me and I'll see what I can do as far as getting some of those answered for you. Stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.